Now welcoming back on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, it is Justin Smith, head golf coach of the University of Minnesota men's golf team. And Justin, first of all, thank you for joining.
Happy to be here.
The Coach's Corner series. It's been fun. It's been fun to do it.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot about how you guys operate, and the time of year we're doing this is certainly a good time to dive into some of that stuff with how cold it is.
Yeah.
And, you guys dealing with the weather, but still, as we saw in Puerto Rico, still able to compete with some of the better programs in college golf. So, anyway, thank you for making the time. This has been fun so far.
No, I love it. This is an incredible opportunity to talk about college golf, and hopefully, really, really high level. At least the way we think about it at a high level,
yeah.
And what we try to do to get our players ready to go compete against the best.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we wanted to discuss here in this particular segment. Is there's so much, you watch golf on TV, and very rarely is that golf a team oriented event. You have your Ryder Cup, you have not even the Olympics really is a team event. I mean, you have players representing their countries, but there's so few of the golf tournaments you watch on TV are team oriented, whereas that's all, I know there's an individual element to college golf, but like you're trying to build a team environment. And so what is that process like, building the team environment for you with the Gophers, and really trying to make sure these players it is a team camaraderie that you're building versus, Joe, you go play your round, and you guys go work on your game, shoot your score, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we talk about, I read a quote the other day, difference between good and great teams, and it's the standards and expectations that the coach kind of sets, and the players really got to buy into it, and the players really got to be about it. It starts in recruiting, right? Like we've had an interesting story, right? When we were recruiting Angus Flanagan back in, this probably 2016. Angus was kind of really late in the game of recruiting. I had a really great contact that knew him and his dad, and Angus wanted to play, the best collegiate golf he could. And knowing he's from England himself, not 100%, right? Like used to perfect southern weather, right? He would get there and he'd kind of travel over the world and play tournaments. But we knew, okay, that can kind of help us a little bit. But he came and visited Minnesota, and then the day after his visit, he went and visited UNLV. And when I kind of found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, we got no shot, right? So went to UNLV. A few days after that, called us and says, hey, I want to be a Gopher. And we were just ecstatic, right? Like Angus was so accomplished, won the Karras Trophy. He was an incredible junior player, played for the English national team. So big deal. Huge opportunity for us to springboard our program in the direction we wanted to. And I always ask whether players kind of give us the answer we want or the answer we don't want, right? Is, what led you to that decision? And so no pressure. I'm not prying, but I just curious. What can we do better in recruiting? What works and what not? And he said, there's the team environment here. He said UNLV, like a little bit more on their own, and coach kind of goes one-on-one with players, and then they kind of go to tournaments and do their thing. And that can work. There's no question. Like there's a lot of programs, successful programs that can do it. But I think at Minnesota, when we're battling some weather stuff, when we're battling some challenges that a lot of other programs might not have, we got to shift the focus and kind of bring the team environment to where I always look at areas, what can we be the best in the country at? And hopefully, by no reason I think we're there yet with the team environment, but that's something that's such a priority, and it brings a group of guys together. We're a very small group in the whole scheme of things. Brings them together. Hopefully, when you're playing for something bigger than yourself, it brings a better performance out. And it's something we try to focus on and try to structure. And in recruiting, we make it very evident and known to them that that's what we're going to do. And if you're going to come in here and think that you're just going to do it all on your own and do your own thing, like we're not the right fit for you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something we communicate early on. It helps us with Angus.
Right.
He had an amazing career. Someone like Ben Warrian, who just graduated and started his pro career, right? That was what he was all about. Great teammate, great leader. But we're going to do it together. And doesn't mean that we don't have individual meetings and we have individual plans for them to develop. But we're all going to share this space together. We're going to be about it. We're going to be a collaborative environment, and that's hopefully what we'll always be about.
So you're, kind of right away before, a player even chooses Minnesota, it's kind of you're laying out this and building that foundation for this team first environment where now, because, we've talked in, whether it's previous segments or even off air about kind of some of the things that you do, when you have practice time. And it's, there's an element of, your stat tracking to see what specific things a player might need to work on, but then there's also another element of competitions, friendly but also heated competitions with the team of that kind of build a team culture, so to speak.
Each one of our guys on our team knows that for them to achieve the ultimate goal, I think, college golf, to win a team national championship, team Big Ten championship, get into the postseason team, right? They need more than themselves to be able to do it. And so how do we kind of fuel that fire a little bit is through a lot of competitions at practice. We just did a 3v3, like broke our team up, and they were competing against each other in 3 different teams. But within those 3 teams, right, they're really helping each other.
Right.
And so when you're out there competing in a tournament, it's you, and it's the biggest challenge is the golf, right? There is no coach that can say, hey, come sit down for a couple minutes and refresh. Get a guy out there that can, kind of piece it together, and then we'll get you back in the game, right? Like, you're out there all the time. And so there's a lot of things to balance with that to make sure they have what they need. But that's where the team can really lift you. And so we try to do that in our practices. We have 6 guys that all live with each other. We have 3 freshmen that live with each other. So between 2 places, they're always together.
Oh, wow.
So that off-the-course stuff is imperative for them to kind of grow as a team together. And as a coach, like, it gives me a lot of comfort and a lot of excitement that, they're all in it for each other too.
Yeah, that's an easy way there to build that camaraderie is having them all together. I mean, off the course, because to that point, like when you guys are at events and someone, one of the players has a poor round or is kind of feeling down about maybe they missed a big opportunity, whatever the case might be. I'm sure it's a huge thing to have the team there to pick them up.
Yes.
And maybe it's going to dinner that night or whatever it is. You kind of start to forget about what went wrong in this particular hole or particular round and move on, because the way team golf works in the format is like you're needed just as much the next day, whether you shot a 75 or a 65.
One of our important parts when we were getting ready for our first event in Puerto Rico was for 2 days of practice. When we knew the 5 individuals who were going to play, we put them in one of our hitting bays. We turned the simulators on. We were running through YouTube flyovers, through TrackMan, like creating the shots, creating the visuals, knowing where wind direction was, because we were getting close enough to the tournament that the weather patterns were pretty predictable. But we had all 5 guys in there with us coaches. I didn't hardly do any talking, and it was our leaders and our team that was talking about decisions on how to play a certain hole, where the wind is, like where our misses are, all that kind of stuff. And when you get the group as a whole doing that, like, I think the impact is that much greater. So it's something for us. It was like, gosh, this is really successful. It's really good. Create an awesome learning environment. That's what we want to continue to do for every tournament and every opportunity kind of in front of us to compete. So just another example of, we talked about earlier with all the technology and the great advances that we have, but how it builds a team as well, like that allows it to do that. And I think us coaches, we're just trying to, create the group and create the setting and the environment for them. And they run with it. Right. That's when hey, we got a pretty cool team here. It's a lot of fun to be around.
That's what you're recruiting is sort of this, the personality and the character and the person that can fit that scheme of things, the collaborative environment. And then now, like you said, you really didn't do much in that scenario, and they're just working together to help each other in that scenario, which that's really cool, because that's how team golf is. It's individual in the sense that like each player has their own shots to hit, their own score to make, but the team environment is everybody coming together to do it for each other, which is, it's kind of a weird thing, because in other sports, it's like there's obviously in football there's 11 guys on the field, and then you play offense, and nobody very rarely is a player playing on both sides, so there's so much more that is relied on the teammates for, right? And your own individual performance can only be so much for the team success. But in golf, it does have a lot more impact individually. So making sure they're in the right space and there's a support system there is pretty valuable, I imagine.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to have 4 team wins, the last 4 years, and we had 2 individual wins. One individual win, actually no, correct me if I'm wrong. We had I think 4 individual wins. So 3 of the individual wins came at a time where the team didn't win, and 1 individual win came when the team won at the same time. When that individual win happened, when the team won, there was never any talk about the individual win.
Yeah.
It was all about the team. And when we get in the vans or we get in the bus and we leave the course after that, right? Like the energy is incredible. And that's why I want to do coaching, right? I was fortunate to do as a player, but the thrill I have as a coach is far greater than I had as a player to experience that or see a group do that, because they can never take that away. So the success breeds the team environment, no question, right? And so it's on us to keep figuring out how to get our players better. But that's what makes it. That's what's so fun to see a group really come together, and it's off the course stuff.
Yeah.
We go to Timberwolves games. We do dinners. We do a formal night. Our guys call it kind of like prom night or whatever you want to do. Formal golf or prom night or whatever. We live in those, and we have alumni that are around, and we really try to celebrate these things off the course. That hopefully even adds much more to the strength of our team as a unit versus the individual aspect. Yeah.
What's the, I guess I don't know if it's communication, but when you're in a tournament, do you, encourage conversation between the players when they're on the course? Maybe they, walk by each other on a fairway, or is it, do you encourage them to kind of, because there's probably a trust factor too there of, you have to trust, that this player is doing what they got to do. They're staying, in their lane. They're staying disciplined with their game. Or do you kind of encourage them to, stop by each other, speak? Hey, the pin's doing this on this hole. Like I know you as there's a certain rules against some of that stuff. But.
Yeah, no, there is, right. The only communication when the tournament's actually going on that can exist between players is really just very informal. It can't be anything strategic with the course. It all has to come through coaches. Yeah, it's kind of a funny deal. And sometimes there have been spots where there's backups on tees.
Yeah.
And we've even played tournaments where all 5 of our guys play together. So the advice rule gets really kind of tricky, and I've had a player say, hey, coach, I hit 8-iron on this par 3, and you've got other guys that are sitting there listening to it. But it's got to be directed to us, right? Yeah. So there's some funny things like that we got to keep in mind. But really for me, when the tournament goes, if we've done our job as coaches, we've prepared them in the practice round, we've prepared them at home to have every bit of information they need to perform in the tournament. Once the tournament goes off, once we really are kind of competing, to me it's about decision-making and body language and attitude.
I was going to ask about body
language. That's all I'm watching.
Yeah.
I don't watch the scores online unless we're getting close to the end of a round, and I kind of might need to know what guys are doing, checking scores, handing in scorecards, and then just kind of seeing the trends of players, and do I need to kind of get to that player to help them on a key hole? That's about it. But for me, I can tell enough with the body language. So and our team knows it. They know my trends. They know what's important to me. And that's what we got to be about, because, I think Coach Fleck was at our practice recently.
Oh, yeah.
From Minnesota football. And he said 72% of the communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like processing them, and he's got all these stats, right? He's incredible at this stuff. So
I feel like nobody looks into that more than he does, probably.
100%, right? Yeah. I know I'm throwing a lot of percents out right now, but yeah, no, nobody gets into that stuff as much as he does. So he said 72% is nonverbal. So you think about all that time on a course, if we're out there for a 36-hole day and we're out there for 11 hours. What is 72% of that? So if our guys have the best attitudes, aren't making the right decisions, the body language is bad, and all of the rest of our players are going to see that.
Right.
What's that going to do to the group? So, whether I feel like I'm, kind of, kicking a dead horse with all this stuff with our players and they get kind of sick of it. Yeah. At the same time, it's so powerful. And that's just what we try to be about. And we certainly got a group now that's, I think they do an incredible job at it. And it really lifts everybody. Yeah. So it's cool.
Are the players able to follow scores live? And then part B to that is, do you encourage that? Or do you, again, is it more of like a, stay focused on your task type of thing?
Yeah. There's multiple ways, right? One of the huge advances in college golf has been the online scoring platforms, right? So families and parents all over the world can follow what the team's doing. What comes into that is sometimes we get to tournaments, if we don't have enough volunteers or enough supporters in the community, right, they have to kind of input their scores digitally or on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
What comes of that is they're going to be checking how the team's doing, how they're doing. Some guys probably respond really well to it. Some guys probably don't. I don't have full control, right? If I'm trying to take full control over these guys staying off their phones, like it's a dead end quickly here.
Right.
Knowing how attached they are and how attached we all are to these devices, right? So I hope that they use it to their advantage. I hope they're not looking a ton, because at the end, is it really going to change what they do a ton? It shouldn't, but I think it's impossible to completely avoid. So
no, I was just curious because I play. I mean, I've played in a couple events a year where there's some scoring or qualifiers where you can just do the same thing, and I'm very much a person that, for better or worse, I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I at? Where am I at on the leaderboard? And that. I bet if you were to look at it and do some research on it, it probably hurts me more than it helps me. So, but yeah, I think I can totally see where that and the body language piece comes together, because again, when it comes to a team environment, there's your individual responsibility has such greater impact in golf versus the individual responsibility of, say, a basketball player, hockey player in that particular contest. So there's making sure that the support is there and the team and culture is there. It has to be a much bigger deal for you probably than maybe other, in a way, other sports or other teams, just because of that piece to it.
Well, we're a small group, right? We have 9 student athletes. We have 2 coaches. We have director of ops. We got a great support staff. But really, it's 11 of us every day in our facility. And this time of year, when we're so confined to an area, and we don't have the big golf courses, we don't have the outdoor practice area we have. It's a little bit more spread out. From my end, to try to read our players, what kind of day they're having. You never know how a class went or a conversation went at home, or kind of plans they have after practice that they might be focused on. So when I get them for that 2 hours, like really trying to read them and figuring out, are they mentally there? For their own benefit, right? We know that's the best environment for their own benefit to develop. But what that does to the rest of the group is something I try to read a ton, and the interactions they have with the group. So, like, the team environment is crucial to make sure that everyone's doing their deal and bringing their best version of themselves, which is going to lift everybody. Yeah. And so, what does that mean? Yeah, hopefully that means that the learning environment's great, but it's going to help them improve their games and shoot better scores, because at the end of the day, we're just totaling up golf scores, throwing out our worst score. But there's so much other stuff that I think that contributes to that is so much more than just hitting a golf ball. Yeah. So that team is crucial, and it'll always be important to us and a priority to us. So
going back to recruiting here to kind of start wrapping, but like when you are, let's say right now there's, a high school golfer that's watching or listening, and they want to be a golfer someday, what would you, I guess, share with them on, well, this is what we need from you to fit with our with this program, right? This is the type of XYZ that you're going to have to be to fit in with us.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question and kind of observation with it. So I always tell people I learn more from the hour before they play and the hour after they play versus when they play. When they're out there on their own and I can't completely hide from everybody, right? I've got my Minnesota gear on and watching and seeing parent, right? So it's easy for everybody to act accordingly, like as I kind of put it. But before and after, there might be times where I can kind of sit in my car and kind of watch a range session or watch how they interact with teammates. That's where I learn and what kind of a player we're going to get. When they know maybe I'm not around, maybe I left, but you kind of use our time to our advantage here. Yeah. Yep. I'm not trying to be like a spy, but at the same time, like I'm really trying to see the true self. And just knowing the coach, knowing the program, knowing how they run things, kind of like figuring out team practices, or is it all individual based, right? Because I know that like we do some one-on-one stuff with our players, but so much of it is team based and they're around their teammates. So are they used to that or are they not used to it? Like those are kind of things that I'm always trying to figure out to how it's going to transition into our program. And there's not one it's like specific example of a player that's going to work. There's a lot of different players that have worked. But I need to know, like, are they okay in the team environment? Do they love it? Do they not like it? If they just want to do their own thing and go off to the side, like, it's probably not the right fit.
Right.
And you can really spot that at the high school level. Being a great teammate is as important as anything. And you knew that from your days, right?
Yeah.
Like your college golf days and kind of growing up. And but that's what we try to identify.
Yeah.
And I promise you it adds to the experience. They're going to have so much of a better experience because of it.
I mean, it's especially, you know, with the student athletes that you're recruiting, right? These are kids that, I mean, by and large are you know, the best player on their team probably by a margin, right? And so it's important to for them probably to stay grounded in that sense of not be bigger than the team.
Right.
And you know, you can still do your own work. And, you know, if you have a swing coach or whatever that you've mentioned before, how that's kind of changed over the years is a lot of these guys have swing coaches now, but to still then maintain sort of an involvement with the team, you know, even if your scores are, you know, 15 shots difference or whatever it might be in a given on a given day, still being kind of that team player with everything.
Yeah, we just, you know, we keep going back to our Puerto Rico tournament, right? But we have the guys that didn't travel, their impact on the team when we're thousands of miles away can be as great as anything. What I mean by that is we had individuals that were every night or you know, wanting to learn about, you know, what was going on in the course, a little bit of the summaries of what's working, what's not working, and then offering that encouragement, offering that support from thousands of miles away, knowing that, hey, we're 9 guys in this, right? We're just not 5 on the road. We need everybody. And so we have great guys that, yeah, I'm sure they'd love to be playing more and competing more, but unfortunately at this stage they haven't been. But them being great teammates and supporting guys on the road and saying, hey, let's go get it, like, enjoy the day, you know, we can do this, you know, the last day at Puerto Rico, like we had the round of the day going against all the other teams there. So all those little things can be such huge benefits. And like I said, what are the things we can be great at without even hitting a golf ball, right? How do we improve our team without hitting a ball? Well, building a great team environment can be such a huge benefit.
Yeah, exactly. That's that speaks to, it's another element too of competing while kind of being up in this northern climate. Like it's another thing that you guys probably have to focus on a little bit more than other programs, just to make sure you have that competitive edge that you guys can get versus a team that's playing actual golf all year round. But like you said, that's the way golf is such a mental sport, and taking advantage of that, not hitting a ball but still improving. You probably have to embrace that as much as you can. We do. We got to get creative as much as anybody, but it's also adds to the excitement of everything we do. Makes it that much better. Well, Justin, we appreciate you swinging by today, stopping in the
I like that.
stopping by in the studio and giving us the lowdown on really what college golf is like nowadays, and especially how you guys do it. It sounds like everything is, you know, it's a pretty fun operation you guys got going there, and you're seeing some early positive results, at least in the 2025 season here. So we appreciate you joining. This has been great.
Thanks for having me. We got a long way to go, but we're excited about the journey that we're on.